Hello everybody. Hello everybody. It's a brand new video yet again. And this one is new, but not really. This is the follow-up series to the Transformers Bumblebee movie / Rise of the Beast concept art. Now they're not real, disclaimer, it's not real concept art, but it's what I would like to see have seen in the films. This one being a very special Hot Rod. And I know many people don't like Hot Rod, but I really wanted to take this up a step. Sorry for repeating myself. But I really wanted to take this up a step. Why? Because I really wanted to tackle this design for the longest time. Because I never really had orange, and I think I've gotten a few requests here and there to do Hot Rod. I never got the chance to do it, and it always struck me hard. I never really got the chance to do it, and I hated that. But here we are now, finally having the concept art Bumblebee movie / Rise of the Beast Hot Rod. I gotta say, this turned out well. Surprisingly, for something that lasted about a day or two that I built. I literally built this in about a day or two, and it still looked magnificent. Now, this is based off of the 1994, this car is not heavily based off, but it's based off of the 1994 Lamborghini Diablo, I believe. Mainly because I wanted to keep the aesthetic, and I know that the Lamborghinis sort of sideswipes things. Trust me, we will get to sideswipe one day, just that day will not be today, sadly. And it's also kind of following the trend of two movies that everyone kind of complained about. Rise of the Beast by kind of being inconsistent and giving cars that are basically someone else's to another person, like they gave Jazz is vehicle mode to Mirage. So I thought, why not make this a little nice, hilarious or continuous treat and change the vehicle mode. I don't know which vehicle mode Hot Rod was originally, but I didn't really want to do my research before the video. I remember seeing the movie though, I forgot. But yeah, so he is the Lamborghini 1994 Diablo. I did have the tail lights, the backlights or tail lights, but I never got a chance to implement it. I was thinking maybe just to have them right here, but I didn't really want to do all that. I think this turned out well. Now, I know what you might be thinking first off. Where, Primus, where's his smokestacks? Where's his... I think they're smokestacks, I don't know. Where are they? Where's his exhausts? Where are they? And we'll get to that in just a moment. First, we'll take a closer look, and then we'll look at the accessories. Alright, taking a closer look at Hot Rod, and this is honestly something else. I haven't given it my all, because it didn't really last. The build quality is great. I mean, the figure didn't last about a long time for me to rework it, but these are one of those quick builds that I'm still really proud of, and I think I did a great job on this. There are so many things that are inspired by many of the other Hot Rod-esque continuities or things that we've seen him in, such as animated. I feel like his proportions are heavily Transformers animated, and I think that's great. But the main overall chest design is heavily, and I mean heavily, inspired by the Rise of the Beast Mirage, and that's what gives it its best, its oomph, I guess you could say. That it still gives that continuous line that Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee movie had. It gives it the same exact frame or same exact inspired design, but still giving them the best. Especially since I gave him these weird shoulders. Unlike what's his name? Prowl, which we reviewed the other day, where he has these. He has actual sharp and angular to kind of give him that Hot Rod look, give him that nice sharp look, and I think it turned out well. And if we take a very even closer look, the chest design is definitely the Lamborghini, just of course in orange. Now I'm still deciding whether to give it orange and have a bit of a red decal all over, because I'm not really looking too into the design, but Yeah, especially since he doesn't have that much red all around, which is an interesting part because he's usually supposed to have red all over, and that's something I really felt like is a great choice that I did because he has red, but orange is the overall overglow of the entire figure. And if you check closely, that chest is definitely the only thing that shines. I couldn't get the flames, so I managed to get a few things in. Like if you see compared to him, there's these weird lights that were in the design. There's like lights underneath the red, and that's what there is. There's the two lights, the red, and then the rest of it. This is supposed to emulate the flaming effect, the flaming decal. This is hingeable, but this weird mouth-looking piece is covering the way. But it just looks very unique. I'm glad how this turned out. And yeah, I did decide to give it more LEDs because I feel like he would definitely be a character who would rock with a lot of LEDs, or just, I feel like most of the characters I'm going to give from now on are going to get a lot of LEDs effects. Because it was very common, I think, in that era. I don't really know. Maybe, I don't know. I watched the Fast and Furious. That's all I know about cars. I'm still getting to learn more because we'll talk about that later. But it's very cool. I am going to keep this white consistent just to give it a nice flare, especially in the foot because I don't have any recolor. But mark my words, those white pieces will be consistent throughout these figures. And I feel like that's the best part. Because something gets to stay on them for the whole time while making the rest stick out. And that's what I love about these figures, is that they look so cool. And there's an empty block here, which we will go over in a minute. And speaking of which, he took so long to film. Like, I finished him in about 2 days, like I said before, and I already yapped him. But he took a while because of these pieces. If you haven't noticed, he finally has those weird wings. They're not the biggest, but he has the wing. Oh, but he has the wings. And I feel like if I couldn't do that, I failed as a mock creator. And that is something I was able to achieve. And also, to give him an inspiration, the underlegs is heavily inspired, not heavily, but mainly the color palette is heavily inspired by the Transformers The Last Night Hot Rod, which is going to be right here up on the screen as a comparison, right either here somewhere. But you can definitely see the legs have the same color palette. And I really wanted to give every single detail, every single character design a way to shine. I feel like the flame effect would already make him shine too much than he already is. So I feel like that's the best part. That he shines greatness without needing such an effect. Like, you can tell this is Hot Rod based off of this color palette. And I think that's something that I really love. And the head is just, it's kind of lanky. It just sticks out too much. That's my only gripe. This isn't even his eyeball, it's just a gray piece. But that's my only gripe with this figure, is that the head just sticks out way too much. Like, I couldn't get a way for it to stick in. I think I can. I'll try it sooner or later, but probably with the next figure. But more characters are definitely going to have this chest design, especially since the following are going to be figures. I'm going to show you in a bit who I have planned to redo and definitely review on this channel because it's really needed. And if you want to see the back, I think the back is really great. The back just looks really cool, actually. And speaking of which, I can definitely go along a long rant on the back because I managed to get the horns, and I don't know if the horns are supposed to be combined, but I think that's the best part. If they were supposed to be combined, it's really cool that it's not, and hear me out. By making this not combined, you definitely get a better, interesting look. And I'm going to add this piece late, but there you go. That's a late piece, but at least you get to see it in person. A separation of the wings that are supposed to conjoin together. The spoiler. Sorry, I realized that was a spoiler. But the spoiler gets to separate in the parts. That way, when it transforms, these can fold in. And the spoiler piece is also up top here. This is the connection. You go connect these two. This is the cover, and it transforms. This whole piece is actually hingeable as well, but that's for articulation. Especially since it doesn't articulate. But you even have the spinal cord that was following along from Prowl. If we can see closely, it's still there. The tires are still there. A few plating is still here. and then just a rewrap on the legs. Just looks so cool. And then these are inspired by, of course, the Bumblebee movie panels, because if you notice and you pay attention to the panels, they have a panel cover, and then they have like some engineering design, they have some pistons, they have a few things here and there. And I think that's what I really achieved, and that's what I really liked. Yeah, but if the color's odd, this is gray, the rest are black, but you still get a pop. And there's still a bit of a gray piece here to give it that technology look, of course. And this panel. And then there's this extra panel. And then these are also still a part of the car. So you still need to add car parts somewhere. And that's the amazing thing, is that he is covered in car parts. I mean, covered in car parts. Like, these are all car parts, the sides of the door, these are the LED lights underneath the car. There's so much. And I feel like that's the best part, is because he's such a shiny character, that's what gives him that rebellious look that turns him into Rodimus Prime. Because, of course, Hot Rod, I feel like in this universe he would be kind of the rebellious type. And I know we've seen that so many times, but I feel like giving it another go is definitely something that they would do. And making him rebellious by sticking out way too much, flaring way too much, doing too much with the big spoiler, the big flashy colors, is definitely going to give him a great look and some great attitude, some great character development. And of course, this is simply just a concept art design that you're never going to see in the films. But it just looks great, man. Alright, now let's go down to accessories. Now for accessories, this is what I wanted to hold out for so long, because he comes with his, yet again, his accessories. These are the two accessories that completes the whole look, and I feel like it looked really empty, especially because of these studs. But these are the exhaust, and these are basically the weird exhaust things. If you know what they are, please comment down below. I really don't know. This is not cheap engagement. But these are the nitrous. These are basically the nitrous bottles that are inside the car that, of course, give him even more speed. So, and I kind of made them, quote-unquote, asymmetrical. Not really. They're actually pretty symmetrical. It's just the different cannons. These are the cannons, and these are the flamethrowers. So this is for close combat, this is for far range combat. So before we mount them on and go over them, we have their effect parts. The first one is this little piece, which is the smokestack. Not the smokestack, it's the smoke effect, which of course simply combines with that, because you can't put it on there, and two individual ones that you can simply wrap around there, and then it looks like he's finished using the guns and they're just smoking. So you can simply take those out. And he also comes with 4 little fire effects, which can also mount onto here too, but they also mount onto here. So definitely you can collide them, or actually, if you want, you can make it go like this, as if he's about to spray, or he's in motion to releasing the fire. How to mount them on is pretty easy, so let's do that right now. At first I thought, let me show you it off video, but let's just do this with this, even though I'm not going to give you guys a tutorial. Sorry for gatekeeping. But this hole and this hole was in here. These two studs go right in here, and they just snap right on. And then there it is. There's the finished product, the actual real Ironhide. I mean, Hot Rod. Sorry. And I gotta say, this just looks, this full look looks incredible, man. This is giving him definitely full look. I wanted to make gray all around, but I feel like this is just better. On top of that, he has even more orange. This is the orange from that little orange bit, or orange tip, pause, the little orange tip that you see over there during the G1, which will show in comparisons, but will also show now. So definitely brings them a long way. And then you have, of course, the exhausts, and then as well as the cannon. So you can definitely use both in combat. And this also inspires me to do one thing. This looks very reminiscent to Sunstreaker. Yup, Sunstreaker. If you know who he is, then you're a genius. But it's also very flat but round design as well, which, sorry to go off track, but which also very much inspires me why this looks like this would actually be in the films, because it looks very much like a Sunstreaker. And it's just very aligned to how bulky but also slim design it would be. So it's really great. And at least he has accessories, so don't go complaining. And if he were to either be a figure that would be mass-produced like YOLO Park, the wings obviously would be separate, the tires, these of course would be accessories. The tires and the wings and these would be considered accessories, so really great amount. And of course, I managed to give him the weird diaper, and he looks like a short Boy Scout. But yeah, that's it. Now let's go into size comparisons and then articulation. So let's do that now. Alright, so for size comparisons, we are missing two characters I don't want to show. Even though I did show, I'm pretty sure in the last video, but that was one of the latest, not latest. One of the earliest models. So the worst part about it is it's not in scale with Studio Series. Here's the Ironhide, right? And I love this figure, of course, but you can actually see some of the details I'm talking about with those excess pistons. Okay, enough ranting about him, but yeah, not great. Ironhide is going to be huge though when I do him, I'll tell you that. And then we have, I'm kind of spoiling him even though because he was remodeled recently, but we have the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, which is where he's supposed to be in scale with. And wow, I mean, he's blurry in the screen, but that's a massive person. If you think he's big, he's bigger, and that's crazy. That's on some diabolical stuff. I mean, I'm deciding to blur him out of the picture because I don't really want you seeing him too much, because he definitely had an upgrade from the last time we saw him. The last time we saw him was in the size comparison video of Prowl, but was also in Nemesis Prime's form, so I hope you guys will like this guy, because he can definitely do something better than Nemesis Prime. And it's crazy. And if you want to, he stands at about 8 inches, nope, almost 8 inches. He's like 7 1/8. But if you stand his head up, he barely makes it to 8 inches. So he has a lot of articulation, and he definitely has more visible ones than Prowl, because in the last video, Prowl really didn't articulate that much. I would have loved to do a side-by-side comparison of Prowl, but I'll have to order parts separate in order to do that. But let's give him the articulation rundown. So the overall articulation rundown is pretty simple. He has double ball joints, or a whole ball joint segment in the arms. So the arms can't really go forward, actually. That's the sad part, but you can actually hinge this piece up. No, you can't. If I was able to hinge it up, I would definitely but I can't do that. It won't let me. But you can't, sadly, you can't go forward, you can't go that. You can go backward though, but you can go inward, you can go out that far. So I think you can just straighten the ball joint a bit. But yeah, it is connected based on a ball joint, so. But if you align it with the shield, it can go out about that far. Barely a 90-degree bend, so that's where it sucks. It's on a loose ball joint, but oh wow, it's on a loose ball joint. So if I got tighter ball joints, you could definitely pose the hell out of him, especially with the T-pose. You can hit a T-pose. if that's what you wanted. So the same goes for both arms. He can't really hit a really good pose with those arms, but it's whatever. And of course, you know the articulated fingers, we don't need to go over that. And then the ball joint, one's tighter than the other. They're not really limited. Well, they are limited, but in their own separate ways. If we take a closer look, there's a ball joint at the head that can go up that far, down that far. Really, really great amount. Tilt side to side and full-on rotation. That's the only mistake would be that head, actually, the more I think about it. But this definitely makes me want to do bludgeon as well, so hey, stay tuned maybe. But he has the hip skirts over here as well, so if we take the arms out of the way, there's a ball joint at the torso that can not go up that much, but if you keep it straight, it can go slightly up. It can go down a really great amount. It can tilt side to side, even better than prowl. Full-on rotation. Oh shoot, I'm gonna cut that out of the video. With the hip skirts, they can kick, well, they can show all the way out. You can't go backward, you can go forward a really great amount. If you move the arm out all the way, you can get a really wide hip, a really wide piece there. Of course, you have swivel over here. You also get a 90-degree bend. You can either hinge this out first or not, but you get, it's kind of miserable this time around. You don't get a full 90-degree bend, and then you get a ball joint. So overall, I still think he still has some pretty posable formulas, but I think if we were to actually compare this to real figure to figure, this guy would be, of course, on the market. Probably, I would want him to be one of the first figures to be on the market if we were to do that, and definitely have him with this exact articulation. Because if he would go in the aftermarket, not in the aftermarket, but he would go in the market for probably $50. I would want to at least make it $50. I'm not a salesman yet, still learning that, but I mean, yeah, he's pretty cool. These ball joints are really tight, so if those loosen up, those can hinge out of the way. These ball joints weren't so tight. You could definitely get a lot of poses, especially since there's no 90-degree bend. You could still get a lot of poses with him. I'm not limiting that. And if the head was just a bit more in, you could definitely get a lot of poses, okay? I'm not straying you from the truth. I'm being honest with you. This would definitely, it would definitely have ripped you off. But at least it's not a tutorial, because you wouldn't want it. But yeah, just kind of going off a bit. But he's very, very interesting. Especially because he took me only 2 days. If I took longer, I would have definitely made shortcuts, and ways for him to articulate. But you have this. So overall, this is a really great looking figure. I mean, he looks great. He feels great. He's still very lightweight, but he's very heavy compared to other box I used to build. So he still has a very nice round edge to him, and there's more lights, so pretty cool. Alright, that about pretty much wraps up the video, but I did forget 2 comparisons. We have all the versions they're inspired by, and one more. Alright, so we have 2 comparisons I completely forgot out of the picture. That being the Sunstreaker. This is the Sunstreaker. It's not based off of the Studio Series, but it's based off of the concept art that we saw. But it looks very much in tune. And if we enlarge him, if we were to enlarge him to basically the actual size, he would probably be slightly smaller. I would make him slightly smaller. But yeah, it's definitely very in tune with what they would have done with Hot Rod, I think. But I think they would have done worse with Hot Rod. But wow, too big. And then we have Megatron. One of the greatest figures I've had, but he's definitely gotten short over time. Why? Look at this. Hot Rod is bigger than Megatron. And that's just insane. I mean, he doesn't look like it, He might not be, but I can't even tell because of that big cannon that's in the way. Especially since, where the hell is his neck? The more I think about it, the more I realize he doesn't have a neck. But I mean, yeah, he's shorter. You may not see it in the camera, but he's definitely shorter. He's definitely shorter, and I mean that's wild. At this point, compared to him, he looks like the Rodimus Prime here. But that's just, and it leads to another reason that I'm going to be putting for most of my recent videos now. With it's, are these too big or still too big? Because they would fit really good. I would have loved for them to fit in the Studio Series line, actually. But they don't, which is what really sucks. And that's the final conclusion to my video, is that I would have really loved for me to make them in scale. But on top of that, not only do they not transform, so it makes it worse for the factor that they can't be in scale with Studio Series, but it just wouldn't work. And if you can try YOLO Park, because if you have one of the transforming figures and they're one of these, I would definitely guarantee you, try this out with YOLO Park. It would probably fit. I don't really have an Optimus Prime to compare that with. So, I mean, I have a bunch of other YOLO Parks if you want me to show you, but there's always a next video where you can tell me, let me see this comparison, and I would love to see it. And I would definitely give you inch comparisons, but that's about as much as I'll give you for now. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off for this video. But before one thing, I'm not comparing him with Bayrush because he's not supposed to be with Bayrush. He's supposed to be with the Stephen Caple Jr. universe, which is the Bumblebee movie and the Rise of the Beast movies. He's supposed to be in line with them, not with anything else. If you were to, you could also maybe fudge it, but I would have to give him more complex. These would be more complex. Everything would have to be more complex, such as these, and then this, just to give him that Bayrush look. But other than that, that would be my only not gripes, but my only complaints. Overall, I'd give him an 8 out of 10 for me. You guys can probably give him more or less, I don't really care, but as long as you give me your opinion in the comments, I will know to up my game next time. I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys in the next video.